Hey, what's up, TP Nation? DannyN13 back. We've got a fun series going on here today, and for a few parts, we're going to be doing the $22 mini Sunday Million, 125K guarantee prize pool. It's a 2-day event. This is actually the lobby from yesterday's tournament and ongoing today, but basically it was I think we had 5 more runners, 8,216 runners entries in the one that I played, and yeah, it's the same structure and all that stuff. So it's 10-minute levels, 10K starting stack. I think it was 10-minute levels the whole way through. Maybe it might change at the final table. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, yeah, it does allow re-entry, up to 3 re-entries available. Yeah, so a massive field tournament. It's a really, really good one. Really great value. Structure is solid. You know, it's got all those in-between type levels, 1.2, 2.4K, and so on. It's basically the mini version of the Sunday Million. So I think the Sunday Million has 12 and 15-minute levels at some point, or either starts with it or whatever. But yeah, it follows a very similar structure, and it's a 2-day event. So we are going to jump into this hand history review. Looks like we hopped in at 350 big blind, 10K starting stack, 10% antes. So let's get her going. Alright, Queen 8 off in the big blind, 28 big blinds. Lord Riz opens 2 bigs. So he opens for the min raise. When you're facing a min raise, you're going to be defending quite wide from our stack size, like 30 big blinds or less. Most stacks you're going to be defending versus a min raise quite wide. But yeah, this is one of the stacks where you want to be somewhat careful with like the offsuit type hands versus early position opens, but I think this is probably the bottom. Queen 8 off. The bottom I would be defending. If he goes like 2.5x or more or 3x, I'm going to be folding this hand. But for a min raise, you know, we're just getting pretty good odds. Let's just see a flop and go from there. 4, 6, 7 rainbow. So we've got a gutter ball, 2 overs. Not bad. I'm going to start by checking. I mean, if he wanted to lead, I could probably get on board with that. But you gotta have a plan to follow through, depending on what card comes next, and how he reacts. So Lord Riz checks. Now most people in the Sunday Mini Million, it's a $22 buy-in, so you're gonna get pretty straightforward players. Like, I have 92 hands, 18-11, but that doesn't really say a whole lot. Actually, we can just run through my HUD stats for a minute. Red, number of hands. Green, VPIP, pre-flop raise. Blue, 3-bet. Raise first in is purple. C-bet, fold C-bet, fold steal, fold 3-bet, number of big blinds. Honestly, I'm just going to be focusing on mainly VPIP, pre-flop, 3-bet, number of hands, maybe some flop C-bet stuff, and a scattered fold to flop C-bet. The other stuff is just, it's there for, you know, when you really get down to the nitty-gritty final few tables, your one tabling, and so on. But anyway, so based on the population in this field, most players are going to play pretty straightforward, so I would expect any overpair, any piece of this that's opening early position is probably going to be C-betting versus our stack size. They're not like afraid we're going to check jam off 27 big blinds. So I would expect to see a C-bet with an overpair. So if a blank comes, I'd be prepared to fire most of the time. We definitely have a range advantage in the big blind. That's much more likely to hit this board than his range. Straight completes. So like even if you want to just bet two bigs, it's completely fine. I would bet that with a 7, a 6, 5. I would bet this with like we still have a gut shot to pretty much what would be the nuts versus his range. So yeah, I think leading is going to be quite profitable here. I mean, checking just seems pretty weak. I think it's an easy one for us to take down. Not sure why I checked. Seems like a multi-table issue, most likely. If I was one tabling, I'm just not checking this spot, honestly. Like, even if I have a 5, I want to build a pot because we still got 26 big blinds. So, like, he's going to check back any pair that he has just in case we do have a 5. He's going to pot control. And so if I did have a 5, I'd want to be getting value from anything, including overcards. And we're just going to be taking it down. Jack of Hearts. So since he checks again, like, I want to win this pot now. And how do we do that? You got to be gunning for pots, especially like early on. You know, we started with 30 bigs, so we don't have that much room. I'm just going to be going for it. It's a re-entry. So this is a spot where I don't actually mind like an overbet or a larger size bet to try to, even if he has a jack, if he rivered a jack, that's not even really a scare card. I mean, it could be, but an ace or a king, even a queen, or a queen, sorry, we would hit top pair. But an ace or a king, I wouldn't try this play, but because it's more likely to hit his range. But I like an overbet here to just, we're going to take down the pot. Like, we can do this with 2 pairs comfortably. We can do this with sets. We can do this with 5x. And you're just going to get a fold from jacks because nobody's bluffing. Nobody's supposed to be bluffing from our spot with that river sizing. So just like 6.5 big blinds, 7 big blinds. And you're going to get a jack X to fold unless he has exactly like ace jack, I think. So we take it down. Queen high obviously has no showdown value versus the way this hand played out. So our only option left is the bluff. And I think that's the best sizing to do that with. It makes the most sense. Sometimes we would check a 5 all the way down, I guess. But we could also bet our 2 pairs, overbet for value as well. Um, 10 jack off, 26 big blinds in the hijack. We've got Lord Riz. Again, you can't really go off stats. It's just not enough hands. Obviously it's not the worst spot with the big blind being on 16 big blinds. It is a looser type player, which might even be fine. We might get value that way. But he also may jam on us. Lord Riz, yeah, it's pretty close. If I had like 35 big blinds, I'd take a stab at this. 26, somewhat hesitant. I don't think it actually matters that much, to be honest. It might make a little tiny smidge of value, but whatever. We will defend the jack 9 off. Now, this is interesting, and this is something you want to pay attention to. A lot of players nowadays, if they are regs or, Brazilian type players or any aggressive type player that is going to be putting you in tough spots, you want to watch for this sizing because it might be a size where he has ace X and he's just trying to get us to fold out our draws, our middling pairs, our ace 3, ace 2, or sixes, sevens, anything we might defend here. Besides a king or a flush draw, a big flush draw or something like that, it just puts us in a spot versus our stack size where we can't really continue. So we're supposed to think. So I'm not going to try right away check raising this spot, but if he keeps doing it or I see him do it and somebody challenges it and we end up seeing that he doesn't have a king, you want to pay a lot of attention to this sizing, because you could pick up a tell where he's doing it with air and just trying to really put pressure on our stack size. It's like, what are we going to do? I actually really like the bet. I think it's a good play if he has, like, I don't know, ace-8 of diamonds. You know, he's just firing one bullet, one and done. No plans to continue, but it's really hard for us to continue. So yeah, you might want to look for check raise spots like that when we defend the big blind, because obviously we just called. We're not representing strength pre-flop. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for that one. Easy fold. Until we have some information to work with, just, you know, it's a key point to keep your eye on. So PokerStar Roma is opening like 2.2, has that nice pressure sizing. Let's definitely pay attention to that player. Probably a reg, someone you don't want to mess with until the spot is right, but those are the type of players I eventually will start check raising on, like king high boards, when they're really putting on pressure when we defend the big blind. Secrets out. Check raise when people see bet hard on king high boards. Ace high boards, you're going to let them have it more often. King high boards, not so much. Ace 9 will open that from the cutoff. Call from the small blind. So, you know, he might even have like an ace 10 or an ace jack. It's a sticky situation when we have 23 big blinds. He doesn't necessarily want to get that in. You're going to see some broadways. You're going to see some suited aces. And you're going to see the middling pairs and whatever. But you're not going to see aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens, nines. We have a 9. So, we're pretty likely to have the best hand, but also we don't want to get check raised versus his stack size. So most likely if he checks, we're going to be realizing our equity, pot controlling. I guess you could argue to bet and try to take it down, but because a lot of overcards and stuff will hurt us, but anything he's going to continue with, we're not getting value out of anything except big overcards with the straight draw or something like that. Maybe a 9-8 suited, but he checks again, so I'm pretty comfortable with our hand now. I think he would actually lead a 10 or some sort of combo draw, like 7-8. Yeah, 7-8 suited, anything like that. Jack 9, Jack 10, anything like that at this point, he would probably lead. So I don't really mind firing a bet here. I think checking is alright. And now I'm going to assume we have the best hand. I'm going to try to get some value out of ace high, or maybe as like a pair of fives of heroes. Just betting like 2 big blinds. Might have bet a little big there. Sometimes that does get looked up by ace high and a pair of fives, like I said. But maybe we could even bet 2 big blinds and call a check raise, because he just does not have a 7x all that often. Jack 8 suited, meh. Doesn't have 10s. Probably not going to check raise 10x either. So yeah, betting small I think is the play, because we get that value, maybe even from ace high, and the potential spaz with it. Just gotta have a plan. Ace 7 suited. Whoa, okay. Jams 25 big blinds effective, really. We have 21. Yeah, that seems like it should be pretty damn close to a call, to be honest, because his range just like. What does he have? What does he have that beats us? Like maybe he has an ace 8 or ace 9 off, but that's probably the only. That's probably the only hands that have us right now. Like I don't think he just shoves sevens plus from this stack. I mean maybe. Probably not. It's more likely going to be a small pair, a weaker suited ace, or a Broadway type hand. Yeah. So I'm really close to calling this one. Let's take a look at it. We're going to break out our pre-flop plus app on our phone. We're going to bring this up. We're going to zoom in. So put in 21 effective stack size, pretty close. Like he has 25, we have 20, 21. Button jams, we're the big blind. A7 suited, you know, makes 1.7 big blinds. So I'm 10% ante. It's one of those spots where I don't really mind taking it because, you know, we're making over a big blind. And I just don't really see what hands are dominating us at all. Like, I really don't. The only argument is, like, it is a pretty damn soft field. But you got to take spots, too. I mean, it's early in the tournament. Like there's no other factors on the line other than it's a soft tournament. But it's plus EV, and that's pretty much all there is to it. We do take it. Queen 7. Chop it up. Unfortunate. Queen 8 suited will open. Standard, take it down. 8s, open again. Call. Yikes. Call from a 10 big blind stack, the big blind. If we had an ace, we would bet. So I'm just going I think we should be betting our range there. Just bet 1.5 big blinds. We're going to have an ace a lot. If it were like king 10x, I'd probably be more hesitant to bet. But with an ace on the board, I expect him to rejam any suited ace that he has in that spot. So he's just not going to have an ace, and we have a big range advantage. So, and if we had an ace, we would bet. So it makes a lot of sense. Just stuck checking it down really now. 5-9, fine. Ship. 9-8 suited, can open that. 27, yeah, you can open that. We pass. Probably just multi-tabling, whatever. Would have got 3-bet, would have folded. Doesn't matter either way. Player missing now. Queen 9 suited, can open that too. Got to call the big or the button is all. We get a defend in the big blind. Flush draw on the flop for us. He checks. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy getting in 2 overs and a flush draw versus a big blind defend. He's not going to have that many ace X of clubs because he probably would have jammed him pre. So the only flush draw we're really overly concerned about is king X. Yeah, I would just bet big here and just go with it most of the time. At this stage in the tournament, I'm just taking our flip spots. And I don't really like betting small because you just give him more fold equity and then we're calling off awkwardly, kind of odds-wise. Yeah, I don't really like that. Just bet big, put more pressure on us. Because like if you bet 4 or 5 big blinds, he's less likely to jam like the 5x or the 2x or the 9-6 like whatever suit type cards. Yeah, Ace deuce. Yeah, like he probably doesn't jam that if we bet 4 big blinds. We're just happy taking it down with less variance. I mean, whatever. We do take the spot, we win it, but moving on. Ace 7 suited. If we open, we have to call the cutoffs jam. Pretty tight player on the button. Even though it's a small sample, that's a tight player. That's a good thing. 1 player missing. Yeah, I like this spot as an open. Only got to worry about 1 player, really. Big blind's also tight. Not going to be defending as wide. So, yeah. Should open that one. We miss it. Sundays probably got like 6-8 tables going. But still, it's not an excuse, you know. Got to pay attention. It's not like a massive miss, but you could certainly open it. We'll defend any suited queen versus 22 big blinds. Check, check. Could lead. You could bet. It'd be nice if that was a diamond instead, though. Yeah, I'm probably not going to be betting. Just let him have it. Especially with stats like that, they're just going to float you with ace high and never fold. Ace deuce, you can do whatever you want as long as you don't fold. Limp, raise, 3.5, it's fine. Terrible flop, check folding. Still check folding. Check winning. Chop. Open the queen jack suited. Call from the small blind. Check. Okay. So, question before you just click some buttons here, like when we bet, what is calling us? How is this hand going to play out? So, like, how is it going to go if we bet and we get check raise? What are you going to do? Or like if we bet, are we getting called by worse? Is there any reason to bet? Are we protecting our hand? Sure, we could get some value from flush draws, but what flush draws exactly from the small blind range is the question. We're not getting called by like 8s and 7s and that, which he may call from 28 big blinds in the small blind. And he could have some like king jacks, king 10s in there as well. He could have jack 10. Unlikely since we have a jack, but it's possible. So we have a pretty strong hand, but we also don't want to get check raised off of it, so we're going to realize our equity, in my opinion. Bad card. Just checking, keeping the pot small, hopefully winning. No reason to bluff. Hopefully he just has an under pair. I mean, he would probably bet the queen of hearts, but he's not going to fold any heart at this point. So hopefully he just has an under pair. Or ace X. So it wasn't going anywhere the whole way. Lost the minimum. Threes, an open from 16 big blinds, undergun 1. 3-bet, middle position, easy fold. I would imagine that is at least ace king, ace queen suited, if not 10s plus. Yep. Cracks the sharp tops. Ace 3 suited will open from the hijack. Jammed on from 32 bigs. He's snap fold. Jam under the gun. Re-jam for a pile of chips. It's got to be ace king all day or jacks, right? Ace queen, ripping it through. No big deal. So, you want to know players like that. I mean, just giving up 67 big blinds. I mean, what if this guy wakes up it's okay to just call 13 big blinds. No one's messing around after that. When you call an under the gun jam from under the gun +1 for 13 big blinds and somebody else goes nuts behind you, ace queen is an absolute snap fold. You don't need to risk your stack being all crazy and shit. King queen, 29 big blinds under the gun. Open. Missing one player, 8-handed. Yikes. Not a good flop. We're going to be done with this one unless we turn that. I think we can put pressure on now and get value from hearts and combos and stuff. We are 3-handed. If we bet big and get raised, it's alright to just fold. But, like, we're going to have the best king. Yeah, we're going to have the best king. We're not going to see ace king in this hand. I don't think any of these other kings. If someone had a set, they would have bet the flop. Unless this guy's getting fancy. So yeah, you get value out of the heart draw. You protect our equity versus the straight draw stuff. And if they want to flick some chippies in, you can go a little bigger than that. Not awful though. I like it. Three and an 8 offsuit. Honestly, versus player types like this, 18, 12, 5, I don't think walking is the play. Like, we have an utter trash hand, but you can just 3x and fold, I think. And then you can just c-bet and whatever. If he does continue, you could even bet small and like double barrel versus players like that, because you know that they're going to have like a playable hand, but they're afraid to get it in. 18-12 is pretty damn tight, so I think walking these type of players is a leak and not paying enough attention. So before you just toss away the 8-3 off there, look at their stats, look at their stack size. Like, he's vulnerable to pressure. Let's just put the pressure on him. It's a soft field. He's probably just not going to want to get too out of line, and he's just going to make his way through. He's hanging out in the $22 mini million, having a nice little Sunday, watching some football, just waiting for aces. So yeah, don't like walking those players. I mean, obviously, anytime you have 8-3 off, you could argue a fold. It's trash. There's no doubt, but the situation is more important than the hand itself. Ace 10 off, 28 bigs. Let's open it up. Just Buzz 1. Laggy McGee, 58, 32, 20. Only 26 hands, but he's playing over half of them. So, we're going to give him a pretty wide range. I would imagine he has like any suited ace, any suited connectors up from like 7-6 suited. If he's at those type of insano stats, he likes to see flops, likes to gamble, probably just having some fun, nothing wrong with it. But you got to realize that as a player, that you could be up against a whole lot here. Deco comes along as well, tighter player, so you want to be somewhat careful. Like the 21-12s, he likes to see some flops, doesn't raise a lot, so when he raises, probably going to have it. But he's got some sort of playable hand, most likely. Yeah, tricky spot, really. If Just Buzz doesn't have a queen, he's probably going to fold. Same with Deco. So, like, I actually don't mind betting, like, 3 big blinds here and folding to resistance. Take the passive line. Obviously, that's not bad, but just because this guy has a very likely wide range, I think it's okay to take a stab at that one there. Stack size just can't afford floats. Yeah, this gets tangly here. We didn't bet the flop. Now we're repping a king, but there's draws out there too. Meh. Yeah, like if it was a king on the flop, I definitely would have bet. We can represent the king. Queen is a little more likely for them to have. Boss just jabs. He has like king jack suited or king 10 suited, something like that. Or spades. Ace 5 spades. Or a bluff, or an air ball. Ace queen suited will open it up. Alright, so we're obviously going to be checking this one. It's just a really bad flop, out of position for our hand. We don't have any backdoor draws. No backdoor flush. If there was a club on the board, it might be to change things a little bit, but not really from his stack size. Based on his flatting range and the likelihood of going nuts, it's just not really a board we want to be betting from out of position. We don't really have a plan going forward on turns and rivers. So, he bets half pot. I mean, what are we really going to do here? It's unfortunate we have a strong hand, but we never hit. Just having a look at what GTO would say, not saying that he is a GTO type player. But we check, he bets big. It's a clear fold. So, not much to think about there. But sometimes it's just nice to be reassured that check folding is proper. Sometimes, you know, it does seem passive, weak, whatever. But on boards like this and spots like this, just check fold. I used to always have a look. Quincy's. We've got a min raise. We've got 24 big blinds to work with. I don't really want to jam queens. Versus an absolute maniac, you know, you might want to consider it. If you see someone raise calling off ace-7 for 20 plus bigs or something crazy, maybe you can do it then, but we're just going to be inducing. Like 6 big blinds is fine from our stack size. Yep. And obviously we will call the jam. He finds a fold, which most don't. Most do not find the fold button. But queens is really strong, so I don't think you need to go any bigger than 3x. You could go like 3.5. It'd be fine, but it doesn't make that big of a difference. We want the action. The result doesn't really matter. Open king 10. Alright, so we got a king jack 7, 2 clubs. We do not have a club. He's got 12.69 big blinds. So I don't, like, versus a player like this, top pair is usually good enough to go with. But as for sizing, which sometimes is important, sometimes it does, its EVs are similar. But we're certainly going to be betting, since there are clubs and draws and stuff out there. And this is the player type who's likely to flick in his draws. So we want to start building the pot and giving him that option to check jam or check raise or whatever he does. We're not folding. So from instinct I would probably bet small, just more so because of his stack size. We want to induce the spaz. We want to get a call from 7x, jack x. It's fine. We got a blocker for some of his straight draws, so I'm just not too worried overall. Betting third, it's fine. The third sets up pretty much so we can jam the pot. You can bet like a little tiny bit more. It doesn't really matter. And GTO, always nice to just have a look and check our work. 13 big blinds, cut off versus big blind, king 10, Got the board there, filling checks. As you can see, I don't know if you can see that or not, but EVs are basically the same, betting small or big. It doesn't really matter. It prefers a small bet, but it really doesn't make like any difference. And he folds. We played it perfectly, and just nice to look because sometimes. By the way, the app that I'm using there is called Solver Plus on your phone. There's a pre-flop plus, Solver Plus, post-flop plus. They're all sweet apps to just check your work and get some practice in. So you might want to look into something like that, or those in particular. I really like them just, when I'm studying on my phone. After a session, you can flick through, find some spots that are bothering you. Yeah, it's always nice to check your work. So I'm actually going to wrap it up for part 1 of the Mini Million hand history review. I hope you guys enjoyed that sesh, and I'll see you in part 2. Good luck on the virtual felt or live felt, whatever you're into. Hopefully you guys are back playing some live poker if you're in a place that's looking after themselves and all that in this crazy world. But yeah, I hope everyone is progressing forward. It's been a weird time. Anyway, good luck with your study and your grind. I'll be back, and we will be building some stacks. Cheers, good luck.